Hey guys, so today I want to make a video teaching you or telling you about things you didn't know or may not have been aware of when it comes to collecting military stuff. I really enjoy making random videos like this, and I hope you enjoy this one as well. So let's go ahead and bring you in and get started. All right, so as you see, I've got some different things here on the table to kind of talk about and share with you guys. And so I'll go ahead and get started here. I'll start right here with this DVD. This is a movie called The Fighting Sullivans. I've seen it many times ever since I was a little kid. It's a very great movie. It's very moving and definitely has some sadness in it as well. The reason I have this in this video is you might not be aware, but this movie came out during World War II. It has to do with 5 brothers, the Sullivan brothers, who all unfortunately passed away when the USS Juneau was sunk off Guadalcanal in 1942. And the movie came out in 1943, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it was 43. But what I've got in this video for is it was shown in theaters and everything. And because the war was still going on and everything, this movie had to be pulled from theaters across the country because there was so much, again, with the war going on and family members and loved ones and sons overseas serving and so much taking place that there was a lot of people that were hurt and upset over the movie, not because of the movie itself, but just because there was so much stuff going on in the world, with the war and everything, and they just had to pull this because of the effect it had on the audiences at the time. And if you've never seen this movie, please watch it. It's a great movie, but it's got a lot of sadness in it for sure. So just wanted to warn you about that. It's kind of a random one to add in this video, but I think it was a good thing to include. Right here behind it, I've got 2 uniforms. One is the Class A dress uniform, one is the Ike jacket. And the reason they're in this video, it has to do with the chevrons that are on them. And let me move them around here just a little bit. There we go. So as you see, these would be technicians. It's got the T on there for technician if you're not familiar with these rates or these ranks. It took me, honestly, a while of collecting to understand exactly like what a technician 4th or 5th grade was, or what they mean compared to like a corporate or a sergeant or whatever. And so whenever you see a uniform, or even if you just have a patch, and it's a technician patch, again, 4th, 5th grade, whatever, 3rd, what it is the soldier whose uniform it would have been, again, unless it's just a patch by itself, the technician chevron or rank, it's a type of non-commissioned officer rank that was developed to provide extra pay to soldiers who had extra skills and or experience, but who did not have the leadership roles of a traditional NCO officer, like a corporal or a sergeant. And so if someone was a medic or a mechanic, a radio operator, even a clerk, those are just some examples of, they might have had a special skill or certain experience. And so they became, like a technician, 4th or 5th or 3rd grade, rank. And they actually got more pay because of their specialty, because they had experience, or they had, a particular skill compared to just, an average maybe corporal or sergeant. And they actually, like I said, got paid more than the average corporal or sergeant. They got a little bit more money because of their skill or experience. And so, again, that's why there's the technician ranks compared to, again, just you'll see, private first class or corporal or sergeant or staff sergeant and so forth. But that's why you see these, and there's different grades of technician and everything. So that's what that represents. Again, they had a skill, they had experience, or maybe a talent, or just something that kind of gave them a little bit more pay and a little bit more maybe knowledge or understanding of certain abilities or certain jobs or roles within the military. So I wanted to move on here. I've got a couple Type 30 Japanese bayonets, and I've got them for 2 parts in this video. And the first one I wanted to mention is, most of you guys have been collecting for a while. Whether you have any of these bayonets or not, you've probably seen them. And something that I've seen for many years, and you probably have too, is the Type 30 scabbard for the Japanese Arisaka bayonet has dents in it. If you see a dent there, This one's got another dent there, pretty significant. Some of them are a little smaller dents, but usually, a lot of times, if you have a Type 30 Japanese Arisaka bayonet with scabbard, the scabbard is going to have at least one dent in it, if not multiple. A lot of the dents are down here closer to the bottom. Now, there's different reasons this could be. I've seen where some people say that, the soldiers getting on trains or getting on vehicles or whatever, they might get, the scabbard might get smashed in a door or get sat on or whatever else. But also something to think about is I've actually read where Japanese soldiers would intentionally put these dents in the scabbard for two reasons, and one would be so the bayonet doesn't rattle in the scabbard. So when they're moving around, especially if they're around the enemy, which would have been us, the U.S., the rattling of the bayonet in the scabbard wouldn't give away their position. Also, they would put dents in these so that the bayonet would fit more snug into the scabbard. So more snug, so a better fit in the scabbard, then also to reduce noise. And so I read into that, other than, like I said at the beginning, people saying, they would get smashed or sat on or slammed in a door on a train or something. So there's possibilities for both of that. But again, most of my Japanese scabbards have dents in them, just like you see here, most of them. Now, the second part I wanted to have these bayonets in here was because, there was the regular Japanese bayonets that were produced in an arsenal, and then there's the ones that are called trainers. And so just some things I want to show you, some differences here, is this one here is actually an arsenal-made Type 30 Arisaka bayonet. It's got the arsenal mark there, Kokura, and it's very well made. You see the fuller, which is the indention that goes most of the length of the blade. It's pretty deep and everything. The thickness of the ricasso right here, if you see that. The shape of the wooden handle and the thickness of it and everything. Also, Japanese bayonets that were made and produced at an arsenal would have a serial number here on the end, which this one's pretty worn out, but you can see that there's numbers there. So that would be, an example of an arsenal bayonet. Whereas this one right here, this one would be a trainer. And so if you look at this one, it has no arsenal mark. If you see that, no stamp or anything. And look at the fuller. Look, it's very shallow, like it's not very deep at all compared to the arsenal-made one. The handle, the wood here, is a lot thicker, and it's not as better shaped as, it's kind of crudely made compared to the one at the arsenal. There is no serial number here, because a lot of these were made by just random metal or scraps of this and that could be found and just thrown together to kind of give you the idea of what it would be like to have a bayonet, a Japanese bayonet, even though it doesn't have all the qualities of an arsenal-made one. And so I'll show you the comparison. You see this one's real smooth and everything, and again, look at the fuller, this groove right here. A lot of people call it the blood groove, but it's called a fuller. And look at the difference. You see, this is the arsenal one. Look how thick and deep it is right through here, right? And then you see this one right here, like it's nowhere near the same quality at all. And then look at the thickness of the handle here, the wooden handle. You see that one compared to this one's more thick and bulky and everything. And then also the ricasso right here, let me show you, is you see this is the arsenal one. Look how thick this is right here compared to how thin this one is. You see there's a difference in the thickness. Also, like I said, no serial number. They were crudely made and everything just for training purposes for like schools and different things. And they got tangled up. And so, that's why, if you come across a Type 30 bayonet, again, and it doesn't have, the features that an arsenal-made one was, it would be a trainer. And they're not really as collectible as the arsenal ones. It kind of depends on who you talk to, but they're still pretty cool to own and have an example of. Right here we have what's called a Combat Infantry Badge, CIB. And there was 3 things that a soldier would have to do to be qualified for one of these. Not everybody in the service was issued one of these, but the 3 qualifications were that an infantryman who satisfactorily performed infantry duties. That's one thing. So they had good performance. That was one of the qualifications. Another one, they had to be assigned to an infantry unit during the time that the unit was engaged in active ground combat. And so, again, they had to be in a part of a unit who was actively engaged in the enemy, right? So they had to, again, they had to perform well, satisfactory infantry duties. They had to be with a unit that was engaged with the enemy on the ground. And the third one was that they must actively participate in the ground combat. So they couldn't just be a part of a unit and they never were in combat. They were never fired upon in a gunfight or any battle at all. They actually had to take place in a battle where the bullets were flying and shrapnel flying and everything else. That was the third qualification in order to get one of these. And honestly, just campaign credit or battle stars alone were not sufficient for a soldier to be awarded one of these combat infantry badge. So again, those are the three qualifications. That's why some uniforms have them, some don't. You'll have some guys in the same division, but they weren't in the same actually unit within the division, and there's just different things that would so many different variations and stuff you'll see on a uniform or discharge papers and stuff. But again, that's what would qualify a soldier for this. Right here, I wanted to talk about, I've got these steel pennies from 1943. They're all 1943. Some of you probably already know where I'm going with this. So in 1943, I think it was less than 40 copper pennies were struck because copper was needed for the war effort. And so to substitute, they came out with steel 1943 pennies. If you find a copper 1943 penny and it cannot be picked up with the magnet, and the reason I say that is because a lot of these steel ones were dipped in copper to fake and to get over on people. If you can pick it up with the magnet, it's not copper. It's copper dipped. But if you have a true copper 1943, again, about 40 or less of them were struck before the dies were changed out, then you've got a penny worth well over $100,000. Now, most of them, I believe, have been found and in private collections, but there's still some unaccounted for. So look for a 43 copper penny that cannot be picked up by a magnet. A lot of people know that, but what a lot of people also don't know is another very valuable penny is a 1944 steel. So in 1944, they were switching back to copper, and some steel ones were struck. Again, a very small amount. I think it was 40 or less, 20 or 40, whatever it was. So a 1944 steel penny is valuable as well. So look in your coin collections and see if you got a 44 steel or a 43 copper. See, I've got a 44 copper, but I tell you what, if I had one of the other two, I'd be probably, I don't know, I'd be over the moon. I'd be so happy and everything, and I wouldn't keep it. A lot of people are like, well, I'd keep it for another 20 years. I wouldn't. I would sell it and maybe pay my house off or whatever else. But it'd be pretty cool to own that if it ever happened. Highly unlikely, but you never know. I wanted to show this right here. This is a 1945 Jefferson nickel. This is what's considered or called a wartime nickel. So from 1942 to 1945, nickel was needed for the war effort. And so these are actually 35% silver. So if you've got a Jefferson nickel, 1942 to 1945 is 35% silver. And also the maker's mark or the mint mark is on the top of the building here. You see, this would be P for Pennsylvania. And so that's another thing. It would have the mint mark. If it had a mint mark, it'd be above the building there. And again, 42 to 45 is 35% silver because the nickel content was needed more for the war effort during those years. A couple other things I wanted to share with you. This right here actually has already been in another video. I thought I'd touch on it again. The Pledge of Allegiance. See, it says, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation. And see, it doesn't say under God. It skips to indivisible with liberty and justice for all. So with under God, there was originally no reference to religion. It was written in 1892, but in 1954, President Eisenhower had under God added, supposedly to give students a deeper understanding of the real meaning of patriotism and help stay away from communism. And so 2 years later, he had In God We Trust added to paper currency and stamps. That was something Eisenhower did. So again, 1954, under God was added to the Pledge of Allegiance. And so it's kind of random there, but that's why this one, it doesn't have under God. This would be before 1954. Last thing I want to share with you guys, I got a couple cans here, and they're actually different. If you can see, this one's got a bigger opening. It's got a lid that folds down. This one has a smaller opening with threads with the cap that screws on. So this one right here, if you see one of these or have one of these type in your collection, this one was for water. This was not for gas. I'm not saying it was never used for gas at all, but you see it doesn't have the threads on here like this one does, where a nozzle could be threaded on there and the gas could be poured into a vehicle. And so again, this was for water. And this one right here that has the thread, smaller opening, again, a nozzle, which I have. I should have grabbed it for this video, but with thread onto here, and then you could pour it into, you know, a vehicle. Now, sometimes, you know, these were used for water. You've probably read in books or war movies. You know, the gas ones, water was put there. And a lot of times the soldier would say they could taste it. You know, they could taste the gas or whatever from, again, water being put into an actual gas can. Whereas, again, this one was a water can. And so it could have been, there could have been gas put in here. You never know. But that's the difference in these cans for the most part. Is, again, if you see this right here, mine needs some WD-40 or some, needs to be oiled, but again, it flips up, water, and this one right here screws on, and again, off, and the nozzle screws on, and that's how you put your gas into a vehicle. And so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up. Just kind of wanted to put some random information out there for you. I hope you liked the video. Please give me more ideas for what you might want me to do videos on. I've got plenty of ideas myself, but I always like the feedback. Let me know what you think. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. God bless all of you, and I'll be getting back to you soon. Thank you.